So about 5 years ago, I got really interested in the concept of shadow work. So I started looking online, watching YouTube videos, trying to figure out how to actually do shadow work. But the weird thing is, not a single video would explain how to actually do it. Like, they would explain the concept well, what it is, why it matters, where it comes from, but when it came to the practical part, they would stop at
so just pay attention to your shadow.
Okay, but how exactly do I do this? Nobody explained the how. Nobody. So today, I want to explain how I have been approaching shadow work. It is not a perfect system, but it is a system. So if you've been going mad while searching for one, well, you've come to the right place. And let's get started. Okay. So, briefly, what is shadow? Shadow is the parts of yourself that you have pushed away from your conscious awareness. The parts you were taught at some point in your life were not okay. Maybe not okay to have, maybe not okay to show, maybe not okay to be. So instead of holding them consciously, you buried them. An important thing to know up front is that shadow is not just the negative stuff. It's not just anger, envy, laziness, whatever. It's also positive qualities. Confidence, ambition, vulnerability, the desire to take up space. Anything about yourself that did not fit the identity you were building, whether it is good or bad, could get pushed into the shadow. Carl Jung, the person who came up with the whole concept, called it the golden shadow. And it literally means the greatness, the genius that is hiding in the parts of yourself that you exiled. So when we talk about shadow, we're referring to the so-called negative space of your identity, what you are not allowed to be. Doesn't matter whether it's good or bad, you just cannot be it. Now, the way shadow works in everyday life is through the mechanism called projection. It probably doesn't come as a surprise to anyone, but we as humankind, as individuals, only have access to our own consciousness. That's it. Our whole life is pretty much just us telling ourselves stories about ourselves and the world around us. And these stories are a byproduct of us looking through the tainted glass, which is our consciousness. We do not get to see inside anyone else's head. We do not know what other people's intentions actually are. We really don't know. We only have interpretations of their actions through the prism of those stories about who we are and how the world functions. So what happens when we push a part of ourselves into the shadow is this. We create a story around it. This is bad, this is not good enough, this is what people should not do. And then every time we encounter something out in the world that reminds us of that part, we keep repeating that story. Oh, this person is a bad person. Oh, the world is unfair. Life sucks, etc. And as you've probably guessed already, these stories tell us more about ourselves than about them, the world, or whatever. And that is projection. It is us seeing our own shadow and reacting to it as if it belongs to other people. Here is a super simple example that should make things clear. Say you have a job that you hate, but a friend of yours has a job that they love and they talk about it often. And you, in response to that, feel this spike of resentment. Maybe you feel like they're showing off and it's bad, or that they do not understand how the world really works and why you specifically cannot have a good job. But in reality, it's your own desire for a job you love that's showing up. Only that desire is in the shadow because you either feel like you don't deserve it, or it's not practical, or it's too tough to get, or whatever. That friend's happiness is triggering your unlived version of it. And that's pretty much how projection works. Alright, that's enough theory, now the actual practice. To do shadow work, you need to metaphorically shed light on it. And it works in two steps. First, you become aware of what is in your shadow, and second, you integrate it. So let's start with the awareness part. There are a few ways to do it. The first way is through your triggers. When you have a strong emotional reaction to something, way bigger than the situation warrants, that reaction usually points at something hiding in your shadow. The core idea is to basically ask yourself, why am I feeling this way, and what does it tell me about myself every time you get this visceral reaction to literally anything. And by the way, I have covered this exact idea in my previous video on shadow work, so if you have not watched that, I would highly recommend it as a companion to this one. The second way is journaling. Naturally. When you notice a trigger, you sit down, you write, and you ask, why did this hit so hard? You keep asking until you get to something you did not want to write down. 2 body signals to watch for while you're doing this. First, the urge to bail. You will want to get up, check your phone, go to the bathroom, do literally anything, and the denial response. You write something down and your first reaction is, no, that's not it. Both of those are usually the sign that you are close. And the third way is paying attention to what your body is telling you. Do you get a stiff neck and stiff shoulders every time you enter a certain situation? Do you suddenly get sick, seemingly out of nowhere? Especially when you start acting from the positive part of yourself you had exiled, the body sometimes revolts. So listening to your gut, both metaphorically and literally, and trying to decipher its message can be quite helpful in uncovering your shadow. Okay, now that you're familiar with your shadow, what do? You integrate it. And surprisingly, sometimes the act of getting curious about your shadow can also do some of the integration work. But I still want to walk you through what integration as a practice can look like. So first of all, integration does not mean acting your shadow out. Just because you discover you have manipulative tendencies, for example, doesn't mean you should now go and be manipulative. Or just because you discover you have a lot of suppressed anger doesn't mean that you should now go and yell at everyone. Integration means recognizing the tendency, holding it consciously, finding an outlet for it if necessary, and choosing how to relate to it. The keyword here is choosing. Remember, you have agency. You can choose for yourself how or even if you express your shadow. You are not your qualities. Just because you realize you're quick to anger doesn't mean you're an angry person. You can decide how much of that said quality you rely on in your life. So let me give you a personal example, because what would I be without a personal story, am I right? After doing shadow work myself, I have discovered that I have manipulative tendencies. See? Not fun, but here we are. It took me a while to actually name that in myself, because admittedly, that is not a flattering thing to have, but once I sat with it, I could see it. And you know, the reason I was suppressing these tendencies in the first place, because I never wanted to be a manipulative person, and I still am not, by the way. So my conscious choice was not to act on it. What I did instead was I started noticing when it came up. Not as some huge dramatic thing, but as offhand comments, as a framing choice in a conversation. The tip of the tendency, so to say, showing up in small ways. So I would notice it and just say to myself, okay, I have this tendency, it's not great, but I'm choosing not to act on it, and it's fine. This is what integration actually looks like most of the time. Just a small ongoing practice of noticing, naming, and choosing. And here's the second thing I want you to hold on to. Very few traits are fully one thing. Most of what we call bad qualities have a positive counterpart, and most positive qualities have a shadow side. In my case, my manipulative tendency is also what makes me a good marketer. At least, I hope I am a good marketer. I'm good at reading psychological dynamics. I'm good at understanding what motivates people. It's the same tendency, just pointed in a different direction. Same with my previous example about anger. Anger is never just anger. Anger is also energy. Anger is also a really strong signal that you know where your boundaries are, that you have a strong moral compass. Integrating anger looks more like letting yourself feel it when it comes and trying to hear what it's telling you rather than yelling at people around you. So when you find something in your shadow, don't just look at the version of it that scared you. Look at the other side too. And now the integration body signal. I already briefly touched on this, but when you start acting from a part of yourself that you had exiled, especially a golden shadow aspect, the body often revolts. You get sick, you have weird accidents, strange obstacles show up in your life that seem designed to push you back into the familiar version of yourself. I want to name this here because I think most shadow work content does not warn you about it. And it is really useful to know. When you start acting from an integrated shadow aspect, and the world seems to be pushing back, that is often a sign that you are on exactly the right path. And your system, your body, your patterns, the version of you that has been running things, they're simply trying to pull you back to the familiar version of yourself. If you recognize what is happening, it's much easier to hold your ground. And if you're struggling to integrate a shadow aspect, if the shame around it is really strong, then a daily affirmation practice can help. Not in the sense of, oh, I'm someone who has anger and that's okay, but more like, my anger does not define me. Having anger is not the same as being an angry person. My qualities are not good or bad, they're just mine and that's okay. You're affirming that having a quality is neither good or bad. It's just acceptable. Over time, that repetition wears down the shame enough that the trait can actually come out of hiding. So one last thing before we wrap up. I want to be 100% transparent with you. It's very likely that you're never going to be done with this work. And honestly, it's not bad. Jung himself said that only 2 people in the whole history of humankind were fully individuated individuals, and that's Christ and Buddha. Now, you do not have to agree with his interpretation, but the key point is, even Jung himself admitted that this practice is a lifelong journey. The goal is just to keep noticing, to keep asking yourself, why did this bother me so much? To keep catching yourself in the small moments and to keep choosing differently if you wish to do so. To keep letting the parts of yourself that you had exiled come back home one by one and to build a self that has room for all of it. And this is it. This is how you can actually do shadow work and practice it in your day-to-day life. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, like and subscribe for more videos like this one. And as always, I wish you a great day and I will see you next time. Bye bye!